Welcome to this video edition of Life Stinks with Mark Death. Today I'm going to be talking about the Velvet Underground's singles box set, 1966 to 1969. It was released on Sundazed Records in 2009, and I will just talk about them briefly in chronological order. This was their first single, All Tomorrow's Parties and I'll Be Your Mirror. It was released about a year before the first album came out. It was the closest the Velvet Underground came to a top 100 hit. It made it to 103 on the Cashbox charts. It was chosen as a single just because All Tomorrow's Parties was Andy Warhol's favorite song. They go for about $3,500 on Discogs is the average price. This whole entire box set was $50, so you do the math. Then we had the second one, Sunday Morning, backed with Femme Fatale, and it's Sterling Morrison, the guitar player, said that it's how you feel when you've been up all Saturday night and you're crawling home while people are going to church. The vocals are a lot louder, it seems like, on Femme Fatale, and it just sounds a lot fuller on the mono singles. I was earlier today I was playing I have a really early stereo copy of the Velvet Underground's first album, and they definitely sound different. Not necessarily better, just different. And it goes on Discogs. The original one goes for about $1,000. I really like how Sundazed did the brown vintage sleeves, just a kind of extra little nerd thing. Then we had the Velvet Underground. This is their single, White Light, White Heat, backed with Here She Goes Now. And it's the only thing that could have been a single off of White Light, White Heat. It's probably their least accessible album, in my opinion. I mean, Sister Ray's like 18 minutes long and there's like screeching feedback on it. And it goes for about $615, the medium price of it. And it's the same. They didn't edit the length of White Light, White Heat. It's the same length as on the album. Then we had the canceled single of It's White Light, White Heat and I Heard Her Call My Name. And it's a alternate mono mix of I Heard Her Call My Name, and it's completely different sounding, and I just don't understand how. I mean, Stephanie Says, one of the many She Says songs that Lou Reed wrote. Candy Says, Caroline Says, Stephanie Says, but it's Temptation in Your Heart, and Stephanie Says. And the funny thing about Temptation in My Heart is they're like joking and like laughing while they're doing like vocal overdubs for the chorus. But the thing is, the engineer didn't take out the parts that weren't supposed to be in there, so they left the entire like them joking around in it, instead of just editing it out and just leaving the choruses. And these two songs weren't released till 1985 on the compilation VU, which is a fantastic one. Then we had the lone single off of their third album. At the time, their third album was their most commercial album that they made, and it's a great record. I mean, you could argue that Loaded was way more radio friendly than the third one, which it is, but it definitely sounds super great on. I don't have the third one on vinyl, so I can only compare it how it sounds to a CD I have, but sounds really, really great. And noticeably different too. And okay, then the last one in the box set, we had a radio ad that they sent to record companies to promote the third album, and it's super funny. It's when FM radio started to blow up, and believe it or not, FM radio was pretty hip back in the day, where DJs could literally do whatever they wanted. I had a bootleg of these DJs in 72 playing rough mixes of Raw Power, the Stooges album, when it came out, and the DJs are making references to doing cocaine. One of the female DJs is talking about how she wants to screw Scott Ashton, the drummer for the Stooges. So FM radio back in the day seems like another beast. And at one point, the guy that's reading the commercial says, "The Velvet Underground will teach you how to feel." So I think that's pretty good. And so it also came with a postcard, which is kind of weird, seems pointless. I mean, interesting. It said it came with a booklet. This is more like a flyer. I mean, it's very informative of such things. Kind of gives a quick rundown of everything that's in the box set. Has a flyer of the Velvet Underground playing California with the Mothers in Invention, Frank Zappa's band. And I never cared for Frank Zappa, and apparently Lou Reed didn't either. So one of my favorite Lou Reed quotes on Frank Zappa, or any of his quotes actually, is Lou Reed is quoted as saying, "Frank Zappa is the most untalented musician I've ever heard. He can't play rock and roll because he's a loser." And Sterling Morrison, the guitar player, said, "If you told Frank Zappa to eat shit in public, he'd do it if it sold records. I would do it too if I liked it." But the funny thing is, I guess the feud was because Frank Zappa was super anti-drugs, and Lou Reed obviously was not. Many people may not know that speed was the Velvet Underground's drug of choice, not heroin. I just read this thing about Metal Machine Music, and it's talking about when Lou Reed's doing that, the speed he's using is what people like when you're in the ambulance and you have when your heart stops, and they use it to like start your heart again. So he was like using that recreational. Kind of dumb, but something. But I guess they ended up smoothing it over because Lou Reed inducted Frank Zappa into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame after he died. Frank Zappa had DJ'd some like radio shows and played some Velvet Underground songs and called them authentic. So who knows? I mean, people just getting dumb feuds for stupid reasons. But I can't stand Frank Zappa. I don't like the funniness of it. I don't like the just practicing scales. I mean, for Christ's sake, Frank Zappa had Steve Vai in his band for a while, so if that's any indication. But what do I know? So anyway, that's it, and see you next time.